Oh my goodness, you guys, I've just got to Boise in Idaho. My room is insane. I mean, look, it is huge. I have this huge suite on the top floor and it's got like a kitchen. Wait, let me just show you quickly. It's got a kitchen, it's got a dining area, it's got this bit here, it's got a whole living area. It's crazy. And then the bedroom. Oh my goodness, look. It's so pretty. Oh my god, and the bathroom is also insane. Look at this bathroom. It's crazy. I actually cannot get over it. It's so beautiful. And then look, I've even got a fireplace in front of the bed. It's so cute. I'm staying at the Inn at 500 Capital in Boise, Idaho. And look, I even have a balcony and a view of the mountains. So I'm very happy. You guys, I've already found something new to show you. I have to show you how the bath works. Hang on. What is this? Where is the water coming from? Oh my god. What? This is the most insane bath tap I have ever seen. Good morning from Idaho. So I'm in Boise still. I've just picked up my hire car. You guys, it pays to be nice to people because she gave me an upgrade. And look how beautiful this car is. It's a, what is it? It's a Chevrolet Equinox. But look at the detailing on these seats. I'm literally in love. It's also the comfiest car seat I've ever sat in. It like hugs your body. But anyway, I've just got to IHOP. I'm gonna have a quick breakfast at IHOP and then I need to drive down to Twin Falls. The lady at the car hire place also told me to go to Shoshone Falls if I've got time. She said it's absolutely beautiful. It's like the Niagara Falls of the West. So I'm gonna try and see that if I've got time as well. This light is like really awkward on my face. But anyway, yeah, come with me on my little Idaho road trip today. You guys, I'm literally obsessed with IHOP's breakfasts. So I had my breakfast and then drove down to Twin Falls, and my reason for going to Twin Falls was to go and see the grave of my granddad's cousin. But I stopped off at Shoshone Falls and the falls were not falling. Like, they were dry because it was summer, but it was still so beautiful. So I got the drone out, but they have really strict drone rules there. So this is literally all I could get because you're not allowed to fly it over the falls themselves or through the canyon, which was really annoying. But oh, it was still so beautiful, even though the falls weren't actually falling. Then I headed to Twin Falls itself, and this is the building that used to be the hotel my granddad's cousin managed before she unalived herself. Okay, so I'm just in Twin Falls in Idaho. This is very sadly where my granddad's cousin unalived herself. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of go and pay my respects. I'm gonna go to the alley where she did it. And yeah, it's just across the road here. So there's the Methodist church. And there's the alley just behind the Methodist church. And then I'm gonna go to her grave and lay some flowers on her grave. I have just had the most American diner experience ever. Oh my god. So I stopped off at a little place in Twin Falls for lunch called Depot Grill. It was, I felt like I'd stepped back in time. It was literally, I walked in and it was like all truckers. It's like all men of a certain age wearing trucker caps, sitting with their buddies, And then I walked in and I'm like, can I please have a table for one? Everyone just stopped, stared at me and turned around to look at me. I was like, oh my God. I'll try and find some photos and include them, because honestly, it was an experience. Like the food was good. I had just like breaded chicken with chips. And it was decent, but obviously it like, oh, sorry. Yeah, obviously it was just kind of like all oven food. But yeah, it was just a very strange experience. It was just a weird experience. I'm gonna go to the cemetery to see Vivian's grave. Vivian, it's a really tragic story with Vivian. So she was my granddad's first cousin, and her mother died when she was 4 years old, and she had 3 siblings, 3 brothers, and all 4 of them were put into an orphanage when their mother died because their father was a miner and he couldn't work and look after the kids, and there was no family around to help. So they were put into an orphanage in Utah, and then the 2 eldest brothers, they got into crime, and they're the ones who ended up becoming known as the Boy Bandits, because they were 16 and 17 when they robbed a bank at gunpoint in Idaho in the 1920s and ended up in prison. And then, yeah, the sister, Vivian, she had a very sad life, and after the orphanage, she got married and converted into the Latter-day Saints for her husband. And then 3 weeks after getting married, she was having a party with friends at the hotel that she managed in Twin Falls. She was having a party with friends, and then in the early hours of the morning, it was like 6 a.m. in the morning, and she said to all her friends, they were all like getting ready to go to bed and actually go to sleep, she was like, I'm just gonna go for a walk. And she went for a walk. She walked around the corner to the alleyway by the park, and she had a gun on her, and yeah, she chose to end her life. But even sadder, she didn't die straight away, and she actually lived for a few hours, and somebody found her. Someone had heard the gunshot, had gone to find her, called the police. They took her to hospital, and she died a couple of hours after arriving at hospital. So yeah, it was really, really sad. She was only 24. She'd been married for 3 weeks, and we don't know why she did it. We can only guess that the kind of circumstances in her life had led her to it, and I don't know, maybe marriage wasn't what she thought it would be, or maybe something happened, we just don't know. But it's very sad. So I am the first person on my granddad's side of the family to come here and to visit her grave. So it means a lot. Like, it sounds really silly, and sometimes I think it's silly going to visit these graves of relatives that lived like 100 years ago. But when I think about it as, that's my granddad's cousin, like, if that happened to one of my cousins, I would be so heartbroken, and it would, I'm gonna start crying. Like, if that was my cousin, it would mean so much to me that one of my descendants made the effort to go and see them. So yeah. So that is why I'm doing this. It just feels like a nice thing to do. And I grew up Catholic, I grew up very religious, and although I'm not the most religious person, as an adult, like, this sort of thing means a lot to me. So yes, so that is why I'm doing this. So let's see if we can go find her grave. I found her. This was a nice easy one to find. There's Vivian. Okay guys, so I've arrived at the place where my granddad's cousins robbed a bank in the 1920s. I don't know if you can see it, it's literally right there. I'm gonna go out and have a look and see what it's like. Oh my god, you guys, that was so good. So I went up to the bank to take some photos, and I knew that it used to be a bar, but on Google Maps it said it had closed down. So, but when I went up to the bank, there was music coming from inside and the lights were on, so I was like, hey, maybe they've reopened. So I checked the door and it opened. So I went in, and sure enough, it's a bar and they've just reopened. It's now called the Bank Bar, and yeah, I just had a drink, and like they showed me the old vault, and the old vault, they use it now as like the cooler room where they store all the like drinks and beer and stuff, but it still has the original door on it, which is insane. Like, to think that my relatives touched that door when they robbed the bank and I touched it. It's just crazy. It was just so cool having a drink in there. And yeah, they want to put together like a little section in the bar with like historical photos. So they've asked me to send them the mugshots and any newspaper clippings I have. So I'm going to send them all of that. And then they're going to like print them out and put them on the wall of the bar. So I said, well, I'm going to have to come back in a few years' time and see them on the wall. So yeah, anyway, I'm gonna go over to the cemetery in Boise now. That's where Arthur, the younger brother, is buried. So I'm gonna go over there. I have his grave location, so I'm gonna go see if I can find it, hoping it's not another unmarked grave, and put some flowers down. And yeah, and then I'm gonna go out tonight. Last night I had a really lazy evening in the hotel and just had a bath and read my book and went to bed. But this is my last night here, and it's the last night of my trip. So I'm gonna go to some bars. I'm just gonna get drunk and eat some food and like have a great time. And then I have to just be up at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning to go to the Old Idaho Penitentiary because I'm meeting the people there for a tour, because that's where the brothers were in prison. So yeah, anyway, see you later. Another unmarked grave. Okay, so I'm just walking through downtown Boise. I'm going to a restaurant called The Fork, but I've just checked and it closes at 9 p.m, which is in an hour. It's Thursday, why is it closing so early? So yeah, I don't know, we'll see if I can get in time, but I'm gonna need somewhere else for drinks after, because 9 p.m, that's so early on a Thursday, my goodness. Oh, anyway, we'll see what it's like. Good morning, everybody. So I'm leaving Boise today. I'm flying back to the UK this afternoon. I've just gotten packed up. Everything's packed. I'm gonna go for breakfast now, and then I'm going to the Old Idaho State Penitentiary to see where my relatives were incarcerated. And they're gonna give me a little tour, and then yeah, I'm just gonna go for lunch, have a chilled out lunch, and then head off home. So yeah, that's it. I can't believe this 2 weeks of this 2-week trip is almost over. Oh, I'm exhausted. I feel like I need a holiday now. I also need some vegetables because there has been a severe lack of vegetables the past 2 weeks, and fruit. And the little vegetables and fruit I have had have just tasted kind of like chemically and gross. So whenever I've ordered them, I've had like a bite and then I've been like, I can't eat this. So yeah. I'm looking forward to getting back to nice, normal, fresh vegetables that don't taste of chemicals. But anyway, I will see you in a little bit. I went to this bacon breakfast place for breakfast, and it was, oh my God, it was amazing, you guys. And then afterwards, I went to check out the like street art. I got no videos the rest of the time, so you're gonna have to put up with all the photos, but I hope that it's worth it because I had the best time going to the Idaho State Penitentiary. I was really lucky that they gave me a private tour because my relatives were in prison. So we started off here, which is actually where their mugshots were taken. So I'm going to show you a photo of Arthur's mugshot. He was 16, he was really young, and he sadly died a year after he was put in jail. But it was fascinating seeing the exact place where their mugshots were taken, where they were booked in. I got so much history from this tour. It was incredible. They do run public tours. I would highly recommend going to one if you're ever in Boise. We then went through into the yard where all the cell blocks are, and they took me into the actual cell block that my granddad's cousins were incarcerated in. This cell block is where they lived. So Arthur was here for a year, and Walter was there for 5 years. I'm not gonna lie, it was horrendous. Like, I would not want to live in that place for 5 years. It was horrible. We then took a walk around the grounds and the other buildings and we went to Siberia, which was solitary confinement. And I mean, I'm not, this was probably the worst place. Actually, no, it was the second worst place. I'll talk about the worst place in a minute. But I would not want to be in there. I mean, I can't even describe how horrible it was. It's basically you're in this tiny cell with no windows, no light, nothing, like not even a bed, just a cold stone floor. And sometimes they would be in there for like a month. And I don't know how those people survived. They also showed me the rose garden, and this rose garden has been here for over 100 years. Some of these roses are literally over 100 years old. Like, my relatives might have worked in that garden and planted some of those roses, and that absolutely blew my mind. But the craziest thing is, this beautiful garden was actually where they used to hang the worst criminals. There weren't many people who died at Idaho State Penitentiary, but I think there were 6 hangings in this rose garden. The worst place that I went to on this visit, though, was death row. And death row, only one guy was killed in this building because most of them were killed in the rose garden. But when I entered this building, I felt sick. I felt so unwell. I just wanted to run away. Like, I can't even describe this feeling. And this is going to sound crazy, but I've actually had this feeling quite a few times beforehand, like in really haunted places. And as I entered the cells, I felt like I was going to vomit and pass out at the same time. Like, it was this horrible, heavy feeling on my chest that I couldn't explain. Um, sorry, that was my dog squeaking his toy. But yeah, I could not explain it. It was horrible. But I only felt it near the cells. When we went up to the actual gallows, I felt nothing. There was nothing there. So I don't know what was in that cell block, but it was not good. It was bad vibes. We ended the tour at the shirt factory, and this was where the prisoners would work. They would make shirts that would be sold in like to members of the public. And we actually know for a fact that both of my granddad's cousins worked in this factory during their time in the prison, and they've got records that show that they worked there. So that was really cool, seeing somewhere that they actually like spent a lot of time while they were incarcerated here. Just down the road from the penitentiary is the Idaho State Archives. And I wanted to go here to see if they had any records that I hadn't seen before. And when I tell you, they had like humongous, great big packs of information on both of the brothers. So this is poor Arthur. And Arthur, he was 16 years old. It was his first offense. He was roped into it by his older brother, who was a bad influence on him, and he very sadly caught meningitis a year into being in prison. and very sadly passed away. He was pardoned shortly before passing away. Their father requested it. And the saddest thing that the lovely man giving me the tour at the penitentiary told me was that Arthur, in particular, 100% would have been sexually assaulted during his time there. He said teenagers who came into the prison were kind of prime targets. Walter might not have been just because he'd been inside before, he was a bit older, but Arthur, it was his first time. He was very young. He absolutely would have been assaulted, and that literally broke my heart. Like, I had a little cry about it because, oh my god, I'm gonna cry even thinking about it. Like, it was so horrible. But they had so much detail in the archives. I was astounded. Um, Especially when it came to Walter. Walter had a huge amount of information, and interestingly, it had a lot of letters in there. There were a lot of letters in there from the FBI and from the Bureau of Investigation before it became the FBI. Um, and when the woman in the archives gave me his pack, she looked at me because when I was reading Arthur's, I was like, oh my gosh, there's a letter from the FBI in here because there was one in his. I was like, does that mean that there's one in Walter's as well? And she like smiled at me. She was like, you'll have to wait and see. And not only was there all of this communication from the FBI, there was a letter signed by J. Edgar Hoover himself. Like, J. Edgar Hoover knew who my cousin was, which is crazy. Like, look at this letter. It was amazing. My jaw dropped. I've never felt so excited about a record before. I was just in complete shock. But yeah, comment below if you think that I should contact the FBI and see if they have any archives on the brothers. Because I'm kind of fascinated to know what on earth these brothers were doing. What was Walter doing that he was on J. Edgar Hoover's radar? You know, like something isn't adding up here. So yeah, if you've made it this far, congratulations. Comment below if you want me to contact them and see if they have archives. Um, Another incredible thing in Walter's pack was this letter from Vivian. I've never seen a photo of Vivian. I had never seen her handwriting before, and suddenly I had this 3-page letter from her begging them to release her brother and explaining that their younger brother had died and that they were orphans and all this sort of stuff. And I don't know, it felt very strange to be reading her letter, having visited her grave the day before. So that was very emotional. And then there was also a lot of correspondence in there from Walter because he tried multiple times to get pardoned and had failed multiple times, and it took him 6 years to finally get a pardon and be released from jail. But after the archives, I was so hungry, you guys. I was starving, so I went for lunch at the most amazing place. I had the best lunch ever, it was very good that I had this lunch because I had the journey from hell later on. And then I went to the state capitol, and that was my very last kind of stop on my trip. And then I went straight back to the hotel afterwards, got my stuff, and went home. And that is the very end of my trip. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Subscribe if you've enjoyed this. I don't really usually I don't talk much about all my ancestry and genealogy stuff, but this trip I just had to because the whole trip was based around that. But my usual travels are just normal travels. So if you love travel vlogs and luxury hotel room tours, give me a follow, like this video, and I will see you very soon. Bye!